The sun blazed overhead, casting a golden hue over the university campus. Laughter, chatter, and the occasional tear painted the atmosphere as graduates clutched their degrees, their faces beaming with excitement and pride. It was supposed to be the beginning of something great. Gorge stood in the middle of the crowd, taking it all in. His best friends, Sophia, Amelia, and Adiola, nudged him. "Sophia, this is it, man. The future begins now." Amelia and Adiola joined them, exchanging dreams of what lay ahead. Together, they formed a tight circle amidst the chaos of celebration. "Amelia, I already have 3 interviews lined up next week." "Adiola, my cousin's firm is practically begging me to join their team." Sophia raised an imaginary glass. "To financial freedom and real adulthood." Gorge smiled confidently. "The world is waiting, and we're ready." Or so they thought. Reality struck like a cold slap in the face. The job hunt was grueling. Applications were sent, interviews were attended, but rejection after rejection piled up. 3 months later, Gorge sat alone in his apartment, illuminated only by the harsh glow of his laptop screen. Around him lay empty coffee cups and crumpled rejection letters. The words "application status unsuccessful" reflected in his tired eyes. Gorge had done everything right, studied hard, got the degree, followed the blueprint society handed him, but the doors remained shut. His phone buzzed with a text from his mother. "We believe in you. Keep pushing." Gorge looked at his framed degree on the wall, once a symbol of hope, now just a piece of paper, taunting him with unfulfilled promises. The reality was equally harsh for his friends. Sophia working long shifts at a cafe, his degree gathering dust. Amelia spent her days refreshing her email inbox, hope fading with each click. Adiola, frustrated and unsure, decided to go back for another degree, convinced that more education might be the answer. One evening, the 4 friends gathered at their usual coffee shop. The energy was vastly different from graduation day. Their faces showed exhaustion and defeat. Sophia stirred his coffee absently. "I've served 3 of my professors this week. They all asked how my job search was going. I just smiled and refilled their cups." Amelia, "My parents are starting to drop hints about moving back home." Adiola, "I applied for another master's program. Maybe we just need more qualifications." Gorge looked up from his notebook, his eyes suddenly focused. What if we were never meant to follow the system, but rather to create our own? What if the degree was only a tool, not the destination? Sophia sighed. "It's a nice thought, but how do we make it work?" Amelia, always the optimist, leaned forward. "We have experience in failing. Maybe that's the lesson we needed." Adiola nodded slowly. "Instead of waiting for jobs, what if we create something? A program to help others like us navigate this transition." A spark ignited in Gorge's eyes. That's it. And with that, the idea was born. Gorge, Sophia, Amelia, and Adiola worked tirelessly. They researched late into the night, surrounded by papers with titles such as "Bridging the Gap Between Education and Reality" and "How to Build a Career Beyond the Degree." They created a program that taught students what schools never did: real-world skills, financial literacy, networking, and entrepreneurship. They hosted workshops, invited professionals to mentor students, and built an online platform where graduates could share resources and find alternative paths. Skepticism met them at every turn. One day at the university, a professor stood with arms crossed, looking down at Gorge and his friends. "Professor, you don't have experience. You can't change the system." Gorge responded confidently, "We're not trying to change the system. We're creating a new one." The first workshop had only 5 attendees. But word spread. 5 turned into 10. 10 became 100. The small room they had initially rented could no longer contain the growing crowd of eager students seeking an alternative path. Amelia developed connections with local businesses, transforming casual conversations into potential partnerships. Sophia leveraged his position at the cafe, networking with professionals who came in for their morning coffee. Adiola applied his academic knowledge to create practical workshops that bridged theory with application. Then companies started taking notice. Gorge and Amelia sat across from executives in suits during a meeting that could change everything. "We've been watching what you're doing. Our company would like to offer internships specifically for graduates of your program." Amelia and Gorge exchanged stunned glances, barely able to contain their excitement. The program grew into a movement. News articles began to appear, highlighting their innovative approach. Students who had once been lost and directionless were now starting their own businesses. Sophia opened a co-working space. Adeola led workshops that transformed academic theories into practical skills. Amelia developed partnerships with international companies, creating pathways for graduates to work abroad. One evening, Gorge received a message from Sophia. "We did it. We stopped waiting and started building. The world didn't open its doors. We kicked them down." Gorge smiled, looking at the framed certificate on his desk. Not his degree, but an award for changing the landscape of education. But the journey didn't begin with success. It began in the silence of rejection. It began in the space where doubt tried to take root. Sitting alone in those dimly lit apartments, staring at screens filled with unanswered applications, the question burned in all of them. Was this all there was? The weight of expectation pressed down harder each day. Watching classmates scatter across the country, some securing jobs through family connections, others leaving for opportunities abroad, the feeling of being left behind was suffocating. Then came the breaking point. The realization that the system was never designed to uplift everyone. That the path so carefully laid out by professors and career counselors was just one of many, and perhaps not even the best one. So the choice was made. Instead of chasing dreams dictated by others, it was time to build something of their own. The degrees weren't useless, but they weren't enough. They needed something more. Application, innovation, adaptation. Slowly, the program expanded. More students joined, eager to learn, to break free from the expectations that once held them back. Some hesitated, afraid to take the leap, conditioned to believe there was only one path. But they watched, they listened, and soon they stepped forward too. With each passing day, the mission grew clearer. It wasn't just about proving a point, it was about rewriting the story for generations to come. It was about turning knowledge into power, into action, into opportunity. 3 years later, Gorge stood before a large conference hall filled with hundreds of eager faces. The room hummed with energy and possibility. In the back, he could see Sophia, Amelia, and Adeola watching proudly. "Gorge, we are not bound by a single path. We are capable of forging our own futures. The system does not define us. Our choices, our determination, and our ability to adapt, that is what shapes our success." Gorge took one last look at the eager faces in front of him. He knew that the seeds of change had already been planted. The system had failed many, but they were not powerless. They were architects of their own destinies. As he stepped away from the podium, a young woman approached him. "I was ready to give up," she admitted, "but now I see things differently." "Thank you." Gorge smiled. That was the real reward, not awards, not recognition, but the knowledge that one person's decision to rise could inspire countless others to do the same. He walked out into the bustling city, feeling the energy of the world moving forward. There were still challenges ahead, but he had learned the most valuable lesson of all. Success is not something given. It is something built, brick by brick, with resilience, vision, and an unshakable belief that the future belongs to those who dare to create it.